Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is going to be the first top 5 gaming mouse video in over a year. I really don't like to make too many tier list and list style videos, but a lot has changed since the last video, so this is just going to be a top 5, mainly FPS mice. If you're expecting something like a G502 on this list, it's likely not the video for you, but going to get right into it with number 5. The final mouse Starlight 12 and the G-Wolves Hottie S4K Plus. And the reason I'm giving these mice the same ranking is because they're solid performing, extremely light wireless mice that cost a lot of money. The Hottie S Plus 4K edition is $170 from G-Wolves, and the Starlight you can find on StockX for like $190 to $200 before fees. So it's just a lot of money, and I do feel like both of these mice, there are some alternatives higher up on the list that are just going to be a better bang for your buck. The Hottie S 4K is far and away the best G-Wolves mouse I've used, but it's still definitely not free of issues. You see the side button can get stuck inside the shell very easily. The click implementation with zippies is alright. I'm still not fully sold on it. I would like to see G-Wolves update this mouse with USB-C, perhaps some optical switches, because the sensor implementation is very solid and the mouse is 50 grams, maybe some different sizes as well. And with the Starlight, I feel like if you want the Starlight small experience, more or less you can just get the Pulsar X2 Mini, and that will get you close enough for less than half the price. And if you enjoy the Starlight Medium, the Viper V2 Pro is very similar shape. It's going to have better tech and it's going to be cheaper. So that's why those mice are at number 5 despite being very solid. But to be clear, I do think the Starlight Small is still the best mouse for fingertip grip on the market. Wireless mouse, 43 grams. It is still extremely impressive. But unless you really care about saving those few grams, I don't feel like you need to cop a Starlight aftermarket. But getting to number 4, it is going to be the Lamzu Atlantis. This mouse came out of nowhere. It was really a shock. And it is the de facto XM2W, because Endgame Gear, whatever they're doing, is not making the XM2W. So Lamzu came out of nowhere with a shape that is very similar. I brought out the XM1R to compare, and as you can see, a very similar design philosophy. There are subtle differences that you will notice in hand, but more or less it is a very similar shape experience. But it's not only the shape. The Atlantis weighs in at 55 grams with very good weight balancing. This is just like straight up one of the best mice on the market for claw grip. It also does work for a relaxed style of fingertip, but I just would not recommend a mouse this curvy for fingertip generally. And it has a well implemented 3395 sensor. No issues with the build quality either or any of the button implementation. The main switches are Huano, blue shell pink dots, and just some of the most solid, balanced, spammable, but still tactile clicks I've seen. So overall, just a great job by Lamzu. They do have a mini version that is reported to come out early 2023, but I don't have much firm info on that. But yeah, for now, the Atlantis is a sick mouse for claw grip. And what was really shocking is that the Atlantis only costs $90. The availability is not going to be the best. Like, it's not always an in-stock item, but I do believe Max Gaming has some copies. Addis Inc. gets shipments pretty often. So if you're looking for a mouse for like medium to large hands claw grip, something very similar to the XM1 shape for $90, you really cannot get a better mouse than this. At number 3 is going to be the Pulsar X2 Mini and the Pulsar X2 Medium. There has been a lot of flack around this release for QC issues, and I actually did experience some of the issues myself. On my old batch units, I did have the click squeaking, which is just like a crazy high-pitched squeaking sound from the clicks. It did not affect performance, but I know some people had issues with like a double clicking sensation. So yeah, the clicks on the first batch of the mouse were not good. On my pre-production unit, I had some creaking and just bad click grinding. But in the days of testing I've put on this new X2 Mini unit, I really don't have anything bad to say. And the Pulsar mice themselves for $95, 53 grams for a mini version, 56 for the medium. I would say the X2 Mini is one of the best mice on the market for fingertip grip. It has extremely flat sides. It's just a flat mouse in general. But if you do want to claw grip it, if you have very large hands, like 21 by 10 or bigger, I would say that you are going to want to go with the medium size X2, but that is a very wide mouse that has a somewhat chunkier feeling in the hand. So I do think most people will be able to make one of these shape variations work depending on your grip style. Maybe if you have like super large hands, you're used to ergos and you play palm grip, neither of the mice will be for you. But I think the X2 Mini is a great shape for a lot of people. In terms of the actual quality on this unit, absolutely no issues with any creaking, like flexing, rattling. The clicks themselves are still Kill 8.0s. They are very sharp feeling and spammable. I don't have any issues with pre or post travel personally. There is a very light amount of pre-travel. In terms of side to side play, there definitely still is some, but no like noticeable grinding, especially not in game. So with the new batch, my experience has really been flawless. It does seem like they addressed the click issues, and overall 3395 sensors, good availability compared to most mice with that sensor. The low mid 50 gram range, 2 shape options. I really do like the Pulsar X2, specifically the mini. It's becoming one of my favorite mice, and that's number 3. Next up is number 2, the classic, the greatest mouse of all time. Some say the G Pro Superlight. It's just so standard. It's like it couldn't not be in this list. I see some people, some very, very silly people are saying that the Superlight is like outdated. And while I do agree that Logitech could definitely make some upgrades to the Superlight, like some 4K Hertz polling rate implementation using the optical switches they put in the G502X, maybe even making the mouse a bit lighter, saying that this is not still one of the best, most consistent, just like solid performing mice on the market, it's just absolutely ludicrous. So to be clear, I don't recommend spending $160 on a new Superlight, but with Black Friday coming up, it's almost a guarantee that it's going to drop below like $110 US. And I feel like at that price, it's just such an elite performing wireless mouse. I do obviously have some bias because I used it as my main for almost a year and a half. But there are just really no glaring issues with the mouse. It has probably the best structural integrity of any like around 60 gram or lighter wireless mouse. The side buttons are like, they do have a lot of pre-travel and a mushy feeling. That's probably the biggest flaw with the mouse, but in general, weight balancing is still unreal. The battery life is incredible. So I think the Superlight's still a top tier mouse. If you have one, you really don't need to upgrade, but you might want to upgrade to one of the number 1 mice. But before that, there are going to be a few honorable mentions. Okay, so the honorable mentions are going to be some good wireless mice, which I just consider the XM1R, anything from the Zowie C series, and Vaxi mice, which are just going to be like elite quality products, incredible mice. The only problem is that they have a wire, but the good thing is that they're all available for $70 or less, because I can already tell people are going to be like, oh, the list is wireless only, it's too expensive. So I'm throwing in a good amount of mice under $70 that are still elite. Also, the Cooler Master MM712 is like my budget wireless mouse go-to recommendation, is $70 as a 3370 optical switches, but just a really good small shape. It's under 60 grams. I recommend watching my review of it because it was one of the most surprising mice of the year. I'm surprised I didn't work into the top 5, but yeah, the MM712, very solid as well. And then just any of those wired mice, I'm not going to go too into depth about them because I feel like a lot of people know. But yeah, gonna get into the number 1 mouse. And the number 1 gaming mouse, drum roll please, like and subscribe, is actually going to be 2 mice, the Viper V2 Pro and the Death Adder V3 Pro, the new Razer lineup, the 4K Hertz polling rate, 3950 Pro mice, professional. But yeah, these are without a doubt the best wireless mice on the market in terms of tech. If you've watched my videos, you know I personally prefer the Death Adder V3 over the Viper V2 Pro, but since they quite literally like have the same specs, similar weights, the only difference is the shape, I figure it just makes sense to rank them the same. But yeah, I've called the Death Adder V3 Pro the Ergo GPX Superlight, in that if you just have large hands, either claw grip or palm grip, and are looking for a mouse that is just going to work, it is the Death Adder V3 Pro. They made a lot of upgrades to the shape. I notice how I didn't say updates, I said upgrades because it makes the shape better. Notably, the shape being so flat at the top, it's really good for finger placement regardless of your grip style. There's not a super aggressive curve on the left side, but it still does feel nice for your thumb. Side buttons are just huge, some of the best side buttons on the market. The click implementation, the Razer V3 opticals, they do feel slightly more mushy on the Death Adder V3 compared to the Viper V2 Pro, where the click feeling is a bit sharper. But in general, both of the mice have very fast, responsive, spammable feeling optical switches, but really no creaking or any type of performance issues on the Death Adder V3. It is in the low 60s weight range, so it's not the absolute lightest mouse, but since it is such a large shape, it does feel distributed very well. And I never expected to have my top 1 like main mouse be an Ergo mouse, but the Death Adder V3 is just like absolute perfection in a gaming mouse. So yeah, if you're somebody who's been holding out on a wireless Zowie mouse, if you're looking for something between like an EC1 and an EC2, closer to the EC1, just go with this. Like, it is already Pretty much better than anything Zowie could be cooking up. It is $150 for both of these mice, which is without a doubt a decent price to pay, and then another $15 if you bundle it up with the 4K Hertz polling dongle. And I would say if you're somebody who's looking for like the absolute best mouse input experience, then go for the hyper polling dongle. Like, you won't regret the purchase. And 4K Hertz polling on wireless mice is undoubtedly sick. It's going to be the standard. It does affect battery a bit, but I think overall it's a pretty cool experience. I'm happy that Razer brought it to the market. In terms of shape, the only people I would say who should definitely go for the Viper V2 Pro over a Death Adder V3 Pro are either people with too small hands to make use of the Death Adder V3 Pro. Maybe you want to wait for Razer to make like a Death Adder V3 Pro Mini or something, or if you play fingertip grip, because the Viper has a flatter, lower profile shape, I just think it works a lot better for fingertip grip. But if you do play claw grip, at least me personally with larger hands, I just struggle to get a very consistent grip of the Viper V2 Pro because there is not a lot of hump presence or stability in the back of the mouse, really. But with the Death Adder V2 Pro, I can get it nicely snug in the back of my palm for either claw grip, even like a relaxed fingertip style grip. I'm not going to say I do the palm grip word because that's just unholy shit. But yeah, these are the top 5 mice on the market. Obviously a lot more than 5 mice were mentioned in this video. So many wonderful gaming mice. I've of course posted full reviews for every single mouse mentioned in the video, so if you want more info, feel free to watch those. Any comments, leave those in the below. Let me know. Leave those in the below. If you have any comments, be sure to leave those below. Let me know what your personal top 5 gaming mice on the market are, and hopefully in a few months I will be back to make an updated one of these videos. But yeah, that's all. Peace.